Now, the funny thing about this is, if you go to a college and you find out how much your little table and your little chair in college are, oh, it was $1,200 for the chair and $1,400 for the table. What? Institution of higher learning? How much did you pay for this? And they're like, well, we are a government institution, so we're forced to buy everything from the prison. Okay, you're buying tables and chairs for thousands of dollars from the prison. How much are these prisoners getting paid? Jeez, this has got to be the biggest racket ever. They must be loaded. Oh, the prisoners get 12 cents an hour. Oh, okay. I am a businessman, and there's something, profit margins come into play. If you have a captive workforce and you're producing something for 12 cents an hour, and it's charged, like people are charged $1,200 or $1,400 on the back end of that, those are not only wide margins of profit, the only way those levels of profit are even attainable are by utter human slavery. And this is actually why the banks and the credit card companies are the primary financiers of American prison systems. In fact, Visa and MasterCard released reports that said investing in federal prisons is a win-win. Not only do we have the equivalent of a 4-star hotel filled to maximum occupancy, but we have a captive workforce that works at 1/18 normal wages. And so you see that they know what they're doing. And of course, you go into a bank, get a home loan. Some people have luck, some people don't. Way too many had luck recently. But you go into a bank to get financing, to start a business, to do something like that. And a lot of times it's real hard. Less than 10% of new businesses get financed by banks. And then you look, what do banks finance? Oh, 99.9% of all prison ventures get financed by banking institutions. This is why in California you see something like, I think they've built one new institution of higher learning for every 25, what I like to call institutions of lower learning. Because what you're doing is you're taking people like me that would like to grow and cultivate the first and most cultivated plant in human history for food, for medicine, for fuel, and for clothing. But you're taking those people and you're tucking them away in a dungeon and throwing away the key. In fact, there was a Republican senator that announced the other day the new mandatory minimums for possession of marijuana should be 25 years. Now, I'm sure that won't pass because that's just insane. But then again, the entire thing's kind of insane. Now, who do we blame? It's those guys that did it. It's not the people that are here, because the police officers that are enforcing these laws don't know this. They haven't been told this information. And this is why I'm doing this video, is to inform people about the thousands of years of empirical data versus the 70 years of propaganda. I'm renting a house for my godmother up there, and we went through a lot of renters, checked a lot of renters out. And there was a family, the man is a police officer somewhere, and quite literally, we're not going to have the police officer up there. I was getting ready to discriminate against this person because of my preconceived notions of how wrong this system is. And then it dawned on me, this is a man with a family. This is a man that spends his life putting himself into harm's way. And why is he doing it? He just wants to keep people safe. He's just trying to keep people, and the things he's been told about cannabis makes him think that, oh, this is bad, and this is bad, and this is wrong with it. When in reality, he was suckered in with the same ooga booga as I and everyone else, including you. It's like the entire world got punked. The entire thing. Not only is it the first most cultivated plant in human history, it has the greatest source of omega-3s and omega-6s. Now this is interesting for the fact that the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, tells me that omega-3s and omega-6s are the greatest thing for human heart health, for preventative heart measures, for preventative heart medicine. And so, in a country where we have more deaths from heart attack than anything else, the greatest plant-based source of heart medicine isn't legal to grow. But But you can grow it in China and you can grow it in Canada, and that's where all our hemp products are imported from. In fact, most of the industrialized world has industrial hemp and medicinal hemp now. We're just a little behind the times. Now, speaking of time, I should probably be wrapping this thing up, but I kind of want to end with another precept of why this is so important, not just from food, clothing, medicine, and fuel, but medicine comes in a lot of ways. We have medicines that heal physical things in the body, and we heal things in the mind with medicine as well. And with that knowing, you come to the understanding that this plant is also a mind medicine as well. It's been used throughout the ages as such. It was there at the establishment of every major culture. In fact, the Chinese attribute it to the beginning of their culture. The Hindu people in the Indus Valley in India attribute it to the beginning of their culture. In fact, the religious ideology of the Hindu religion is that Lord Shiva was sheltering himself from the hot sun one day and sheltered on a large cannabis plant, then took the plant down to the humans, and with that they established their culture. In fact, this is why at Shiva Ratri, which is kind of a worshiping ceremony, Shiva, Siva, there's a lot of interchanging things with the deities, but at Shiva Ratri, the traditional drink is bang or bang, a hash lassi, if you will. Many different ingredients. I can give you the ingredients, I'll put them in the list later. But it's a wonderful ceremony. You should try one sometime. That's one of the ceremonies. Of course, there's many cases of, the Taoist religion used to burn cannabis seeds on a little altar and inhale the smokes to have visions. The Buddhist religion, of course, has the parable of the Buddha sustaining himself for 40 days on a cannabis seed a day. And many of the Buddhist precepts and traditions say that if a man eats just cannabis seeds for 40 days straight, he'll start to see spirits. And this is kind of leading me into my next thing. What's a drug? Oh yeah, it's a food. And when you put it in your body, it has a reaction and has chemical processes that do something with your brain. And actually, if you look at what drugs do, they actually, on a very small level, the neuroreceptors, when they're firing, depending on which drugs you're eating, certain neuroreceptors will fire and certain will not. And depending on which drug you're doing, depending on what drug you're doing is what version of reality you're going to get. And I mean this and this, that if I eat a bunch of this sage and overload my neuroreceptors with the throazone in this, it will start to have a cascading effect in my brain to where many things will happen. I'll start to hear things differently. I'll start to see things differently. Geometric patterns in a lot of things are usually ubiquitously the beginning of those experiences. And of course they can go further and further and further. And this is the very principle of shamanism. This is what we find in the Native American religions. This is what we find in the South American Native American religions. This is what we find in every culture throughout the entire world, that there are these shamans that, they venture off with these plants to see the different states of reality and then kind of come back and tell everybody, hey, this plant does this plant does that. And when you look at what a shamanistic brew is, a concoction, it's essentially like accessing a program on Windows. It's like, okay, if I click on this icon and I click on this icon, this program is going to run. With that knowledge, that's what it is. You put this medicine with this medicine, and you're going to get this effect. Now, that being known, I got to tell you, and this is kind of going to get to the cusp of my talk here.